Well, welcome to the 700 Club. President Trump could see a major victory in Congress today. Republican leaders are set to vote on their plan to repeal and replace Obamacare.
The vote is expected to be close, and it comes after long negotiations, including talks between conservatives and moderates. Heather Sells has the story.
6 weeks after health care appeared dead in Washington, it's come to life again. What helped? Face-to-face lobbying by the president and a last-minute amendment. 2 Republican congressmen brought the measure. It will help cover pre-existing conditions by giving states $8 billion over 5 years.
With this addition that we brought to the president and sold him on in over an hour meeting in here with him, there were both yeses on the bill.
The new bill eliminates Obamacare tax penalties on those who don't buy health care. It also cuts Medicaid for low-income people and lets states impose work requirements on them. It keeps the requirement that family policies include children until age 26, and it blocks federal payments to Planned Parenthood for 1 year. Not surprisingly, every Democrat is expected to oppose the bill.
This is deadly. This is deadly. Trump Care means heart-stopping premium increases for Americans.
Major medical groups like the American Medical Association are attacking the bill, concerned about loss of coverage. House members will have to vote with a number of questions still up in the air. That's because a cost estimate from the Congressional Budget Office is not yet available, although such estimates haven't been accurate in the past. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, in other news, President Trump is set to fulfill a campaign promise today. He's set to sign an executive order to protect religious liberties. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. And that order addresses a variety of issues that fall under the umbrella of religious freedom, including the Johnson Amendment, which prohibits churches and nonprofit organizations from supporting or opposing political candidates. The order will tell the IRS to use maximum discretion on the rule, which would open the door for the agency not to enforce it. It will also offer what it calls regulatory relief to groups who don't want to provide contraceptive coverage because of religious objections. We'll have a full report on the order on tomorrow's 700 Club. The president's executive order coincides with the National Day of Prayer, and you can find an interview with Day of Prayer Chair Ann Graham Lotz about her prayer for the nation on cbnnews.com. Well, President Trump is moving forward with plans to broker what he calls the ultimate deal, peace in the Middle East. He met with his Palestinian counterpart, Mahmoud Abbas, at the White House yesterday, but there are still a wide range of difficult issues involved, including the status of Jerusalem. Jennifer Wishon brings us that story.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas arrived at the White House without the usual fanfare afforded visiting heads of state. Weakened by rivals back home, he was anxious to meet with President Trump and solidify his position as chief broker for the Palestinians.
There can be no lasting peace unless the Palestinian leaders speak in a unified voice against incitement to violate and violence and hate. There's such hatred, but hopefully there won't be such hatred for very long.
Trump also raised concerns about the Palestinian Authority sending payments to the families of convicted terrorists in Israeli jails. Abbas laid out his own demands.
Mr. President, it's about time for Israel to end its occupation of our people and of our land after 50 years.
President Trump will reportedly travel to Israel later this month, a trip that will coincide with the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War, leading some to speculate he'll use the occasion to announce he's moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And from Jerusalem, CBN News reports this reaction to the meeting.
What Israelis seem to be looking for is deeds, not words, in a number of areas. For example, stop writing Western-backed checks to terrorists and their families. Stop naming public squares after people who blow up Israeli women and children. Stop using Palestinian textbooks as incitement against Israelis. And stop using the UN for diplomatic war against Israel.
President Trump says he's eager to facilitate, mediate, and arbitrate a deal, but ultimately the solution must come from the Israeli and Palestinian people. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News,
the White House.
Thanks, Jennifer. Gordon, the president sounding optimistic about brokering a deal.
Well, don't share his optimism. The Palestinians don't have any intention of stopping their goal of driving Israel into the sea. It's been their goal since 1948, and you look back on all the different wars that were all instigated by this hatred of the Jewish people. They have said repeatedly, we want to drive them into the sea. These latest efforts are frankly just a smokescreen. I, for one, if you're talking about East Jerusalem, you're talking about East Jerusalem going back to the Palestinians. You're talking about the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You're talking about the Garden of Gethsemane. You're talking about the Western Wall and the Temple Mount. So I, for one, don't want to see Hamas in charge of those holy sites. That would be unthinkable for me. The last time there was a popular election in Gaza, they elected Hamas to lead them. That's why the Palestinian leadership is divided. And if you want a terrorist group in charge of East Jerusalem, no way. You need to know the history here. You need to know the history of the foundation of Israel. You need to know the history of the Six-Day War. And we have a special event for you coming up on May 23, which on the Jewish calendar is Jerusalem Reunification Day. And in theaters across the nation, we want to tell the story, the real history of the Six-Day War, the real history of the paratroopers who captured the Temple Mount and announced to the world the Temple Mount is in our hands. So if you want to know the theater near you, just go to inourhands1967.com, put in your zip code, and you can find a theater near you. Go get the history so you can understand today's headlines.